Welcome to CosmoReady's video production of the NIC Cosmetology Task 3, Uniform Haircut. Okay, today we're going to be doing a 90-degree haircut, and I have my mannequin section. She has her top section on each side by the ears, and then the back is sectioned into two sections with a guide that's dropped down. The first thing we're going to do is create our guideline. So we want to have her head straight. I'm going to comb that smooth. My comb has beads on it, but most of the styling combs have numbers, which would be the inches. So I'm just going to measure her right now and see where we're at. Move this up. I'm going to take about an inch off. So on either side of this guideline that I have dropped down, I'm going to place the comb underneath, and I'm going to cut to my yellow bead on this side. And I'm not holding the hair with a lot of tension. It's just gently placing the comb underneath that hair. The more you stretch wet hair, the more it's going to bounce back up. Hair stretches 50% when it's wet and 20% when it's dry, so you want to keep that in mind when you're creating that guideline. Okay, now I have a point here and a point on this side, and I'm just going to connect my dots. Try and do this so I don't block your view. Okay, so you have to envision this whole section in your hand. The reason I did not make a point in the middle, on the mannequin she comes down to a point. So I have a guide here and a guide here. I'm going to start on this side, walking over, don't go past that second knuckle, and then just reshift your fingers so that you have that space here now, and connect that over. And just a little bit longer right here, so I'm just going to come around the corner and take this little corner off right there. So that is our guideline. Now we're going to take down about a ½ inch section from there. And again, this is a 90-degree haircut. So we're going to take down our sections. Clean partings are very important. That's how we're going to keep our haircut workable. The hair workable. Okay. So now from here, I'm going to just turn her sideways so that you can see this. I'm taking a section from the center in the middle, and I'm going to elevate this out from the head at 90 degrees. Here's my guideline here. I'm going to go to the highest point of what's previously cut, which is at the top, not the lowest point. Hair is pulled directly out from the head, and I'm going to make a cut. This actually may look like a 45-degree cut, and it does because of the curve of the head in the back, but it is pulled out directly from the head, so it will be a 90-degree haircut. And you want to make sure that you take a part of the previously cut section as you walk around to the left side. And then what I like to do is cross-check right away horizontally, just from what you just cut, not the guideline. And I'm a little long in this piece here, so I'm going to just come back in right here, and there I have a little bit of extra hair. Clean that up and look at it this way, and that's much better. If I came in this way and went to clean up that peak, I actually could end up with a hole in that haircut at that level. So now I'm going to go center to the right, following the guide, taking part of my previously cut section. And you want to make sure that you don't pull the hair back to that center section. You want each section to come straight out from itself, pieces that you're cutting. You always want to cut palm to palm so that it extends your wrist. I'm just going to turn her head a little bit here. And we're going to continue at this rate, pulling straight out from the head, and then cross-checking as we move up the back. If you don't see your guideline as you're cutting, do not cut. And I'm slightly longer right here, so I probably over-directed a little bit. So I'll come back in. I can see little short pieces underneath here, so I'm going to clean that up. Another vertical piece pulling out. And then this last one has to come more this way. And I can see my guide. If I can't see it, I move the hair out of my way and I can see it underneath there. I need to cut that off. So this hair I had over-directed back. That's why it was longer. All right. Cross-check the whole thing. Remember, if you cut vertically, you're going to cross-check horizontally. Now that I've worked up the back to above the ear section here, that lower crown or just above the occipital, I've done my vertical cutting, I've cross-checked horizontally, now I'm going to pull down my side section. And I'm going to take my part so that it lines up with what I previously cut in the back so that I have a guide. Now what I generally do is if I'm doing a 0-degree haircut, this would have to line up to my bottom guide here. 45, I would hold it out a little bit. Since it's a 90-degree haircut, I am actually going to elevate this straight out from the head and cut this at 90 degrees straight out from the head. Try not to cut past that second knuckle. I just did. Okay, and I'm going to turn her. I would do the same on the other side, so to save time, I'm just going to move on here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work up both of these sections at the same time. I'm going to take my guide from here, or my next drop down section, and my next drop down section. And I'm going to start in the center of the back. Let me just turn her a little bit here. And I'm going to comb the hair and elevate it straight out from the head. Go from the top of that guide, from the previously cut section, it up, go from the previously cut my section, don't go past that second knuckle. Now at this point I'm cutting over my hand, or above my finger, and that's because if I were to cut inside my hand, it would be very awkward at this time. My elbow would have to be way up in the air, and it's just very uncomfortable. So I'm going to cut over my finger, but the hair has to come straight out from the head, and you need to be able to see your guide in there. If you don't see your guide, even by moving the hair down flat on your finger and you don't see the little short ones, do not cut. Because this is where everything can go wrong if you don't see your guide. Turn her a little bit this way. Again, everything is straight out. This is a moving guide, so I'm taking some of the previously cut section and walking it along as I go. I'm going to cross-check horizontally just the section I cut. I don't want to comb down and check down here, then I'm checking the hair from the nape area. So I just want to take a section right where I was cutting, pull it out. I have a little peak right here, and that's normal. That's the transition between the partings. And it's not much of a peak that way. Again, don't check this way and cut it off. You could actually end up with a hole in your hair. You don't want to do that. Here I have a little bit right here. That needs to come off much better. Okay, and then I'm going to continue up, working up till I get up to the top. Okay, here we are. Everything is cut all the way up the back, except for this very tiny section they call the football section in the crown area. We're not going to cut that just yet. The sides have been cut. Everything is even to my yellow dot, my yellow bead on my comb. So now what we're going to do is from this very front section, I'm going to take a center mohawk and cut that at 90 degrees straight up to my yellow bead. I don't want to take this too wide of a section, just a narrow little mohawk section. I've been holding my bead this way, so I'm going to hold my hair this way. Let me turn her sideways so you can see better. Okay. Elevate straight up from the head. There's my yellow bead on my comb, right to the top of my fingers, and I'm going to cut that. Up to where my guide is, and there we go. So now it's to my yellow bead, just like everything else in the haircut. Now what I'm going to do is from this is going to be one guide, the new mohawk section, and I'm going to blend the side of that top section. So I'm going to have a guide here and a guide down here. I want to cut what's in between. This is one technique to avoid getting too short in the crown, because remember I told you we still have that football section that I haven't cut yet too. Guideline to guideline and cut. Straight up from the head. Guideline to guideline and cut. Make sure you can see that guideline through there. Okay, so that part is cut. I can go ahead and cut this side then. I'm just going to take some of this hair and comb it over to this side. Okay, and we'll start in the previously cut section in the back. This is a little harder because now I'm blocking your view. Let me turn it backwards here so that maybe you can see better. So I did my first cut here, blended my guide, take another one, make sure I can see guideline to guideline. You know it's against my black smock, sorry. My haircut is almost complete at this time. I'm just blending the rest of it in here, elevating that hair straight up, out from the head. Now I have the last two little tops of those back sections that I'm going to blend in. And this is going to be a blending from up here, previously cut, to what's in the back. Just going to walk around the crown of the head. And here's a large piece of it right there. Try not to go past that second knuckle. It's very, very hard, even for me after all these years. You get cut a few times, you'll know. You'll learn your lesson. And we just covered that in class, what to do if you cut yourself. So we have several of you made posters to cover the blood procedure. Now a final cross check. What you want to do is you want to comb the hair through where all the partings were. So we had a parting here, we had partings here, and a parting down the center. So you really want to just kind of walk through that whole haircut across where all the partings were, just to make sure everything's blended and we have no peaks. Come on this side here, no peaks, no peaks, and that is our 90-degree haircut. Use the same length all over. We're going to take a look at some razor techniques. Now, for the NIC tests, you only need to remove length with the razor. However, some states will require texturizing. So I will demonstrate a few techniques for texturizing after removing length. Okay, I'm just going to show you a few little techniques with the razor, and this is just going off of my previously cut 90-degree mannequin. So when I take my section out, what you want to do with your client is you're going to pull the hair out, but you need to let the guide drop down, so we'll let that drop. This is slithering with the razor. You do it as an etching. It's going to feather those ends really nicely for you. Let the guide drop. Hold on to the hair tight in those fingers. And that's a slithering motion. You can also take a blunt cut, and you'll have to do this at the Wisconsin State Board. So you take your section, let your guide drop, and you just, I have to hold my stand here, push through, and it gives you a nice straight line. Again, let the guide drop. I can see the guide dropping underneath. Hold those fingers tight together and move through. So that blade, drop that guide, the blade never leaves your fingers. Okay, I don't want to see any like this, just hacking at the hair, okay? You want to have control of that hair in your fingers and move it along through, okay? Another thing that we're able to do with our razor is slide cutting. Some people are very talented and have very sharp shears that they can slide cut with their shear, but you need very sharp shears to do this. And for us, for slide cutting today, all you have to do is just rest your blade right behind your fingers and slide it down. Okay, just rest it and slide it right down behind, and that's going to take off just a little bit, and it's going to give you a really nice angle. It's going to come in really handy when you have somebody with longer hair and they want you to have that feathering toward their face. The razor that you can do is texturizing. You can take it as a horizontal piece and not at a parting, so not where they normally part their hair, but you can either just tap your blade in on the hair And for coarse hair, you would be farther away, and she has coarse hair for the mannequin. And then comb out those pieces. So that's one way that you can texturize the hair. Tap, 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 just to remove a little bit. Another way, you could either do it vertically, like this, and just lay your, if you lay your razor flat, you're gonna take off a lot. So you're gonna lay it flat, but then raise it up 45 degrees, and slightly pull it towards you, and that's what you're gonna get off then, just that small amount. If you wanted to do it horizontally, same thing. Lay it flat, but then raise it 45 degrees, and just slide it towards you to remove some of that bulk that's in there. You don't want to cut all the way through. Cosmetology Task 3 Uniform Haircut has been a CosmoReady video production.